Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Scott Hanselman, Microsoft.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everybody. I haven't been sitting here for half an hour playing YouTube videos for you. It's like I've just come up here for the very first time. That's fantastic. We'll start the timers here and we'll get going. Just a big disclaimer here to make it really clear that I'm here as me for my friend Miguel and not for anyone else. So there were actually way more cat pictures in this slide, but they removed them. So sorry for that. This talk is about C# and how it changed my life and made everything in the world better for me. It's like I can't continue my PowerPoint until I start up a Mac. Xamarin just gets me at every turn. It's so clever. Oh, see now, and I've dropped into low res. Well, I do have a Retina version of that, though. There we go. That is way better. OK. Thank goodness I had like a full 120 by 80 there. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to make it past there. My name's Scott, and I have a podcast called Hansel Minutes. I hope you check out. We've got lots of cool people. We had Paul Irish from Google on recently. We've had lots of really cool, interesting people. It's a talk show. I hope you check it out. I've also got a show that no one listens to. It's kind of like car talk for geeks. You can check that out. It's called Ratchet and the Geek with my friend Lovey and I. And I also do This Developer's Life with Rob Connery. So if you are ever on a commute somewhere and you want to listen to something, check out any of those. So I work here, which is awesome. I don't really work here. I work remotely on the forest moon. And I work in Azure and ASP.NET, which is open source, which is really awesome. So it's kind of like a Lego ship around the forest moon. Here is a picture of me working in IT before I went to work for Microsoft. And of course, working for the man is amazing because there's so much money and fancy clothes. So this is me afterwards. I hope you enjoyed my work in Gulliver's Travels. I'm still waiting for my money, and I'd like to have some of that luxurious hair. So this is a little bit about my story and how I found myself doing C# and my love of Visual Studio and my love of Xamarin. So I was a pretty intense child and started out earlier doing things like this. We all spent time in this world, right? You were a geek if you had a boot disk in your back pocket in high school, right? And that was just, what was that for? That was so you could get past whatever they threw up at you in the library. So you'd have your Zork boot disk and your Norton Disk Doctor, and I was charging kids to I can run check disk on that for you for $10 and fix your homework. So I started out there. Then I moved from this really, really elegant, well-designed, revolutionary UI onto this UI. And then these days, these were actually really good days. I spent a lot of time here. And I find Windows 8, I find myself in Windows 8 asking, where is the program manager? Why do you keep changing everything, Microsoft? Where's the program manager? Because I think we need to bring that back, because no one will ever learn how to use Windows 8 unless they can run Progman. I spent a lot of time in TurboVision and Turbo Pascal, amazing and entire windowing system with ASCII art. It was the best. Moving the cursor, and it was like a block. So cool. And it's so funny when you go back and play Bard's Tale, like now, it doesn't like in my mind, it was like totally 3D rendered and amazing. And then I was like, oh, it was in text? Oh, what a letdown. But in my mind, it was amazing. Never quite holds up. Started out doing web work and my favorite search engine. I miss them. Oh, poor little Lycos, our friend right there. Built a bunch of websites, worked on 800.com. This here, I wrote that. Like, it's cool to look back 20 years and say, man, I built that. We built it with tables and 1-pixel GIFs, and it was okay, and it was good. There are 32 nested tables on that page. And it was okay, and it was encouraged. So I'm like, with that kind of power, there's only one place to go, is C++, right? So I spent a lot of time in C++, a lot of time in C++. But it wasn't the language of my soul. You know, it didn't feed my spirit. It wasn't my kind of Oprah Iyanla language. So then I said, that must be Visual Basic then. That must be my language. Because Visual Basic is awesome, right? I mean, Visual Basic, you can make a UI in like no work at all, right? It's like the Xamarin iOS designer. You just start dragging stuff, and you're like, I'm a designer. It's going to look amazing. You know, you just go into this store, like they went to the Xamarin store, and you pick hot dog for your theme. Surely the App Store would love to have me in there. Or I could do it in WPF, right? Which is the same thing as VB3, except with angle brackets and a gig of video RAM. But you do get other benefits, of course, like you can make it glow, and it'll also spin in smooth 60 frames a second animations. Now, I went and I got a bunch of certifications, because this is what we did. I got them all, in fact. I don't know which one went in the corner there after MCT, but it wasn't worth having, because I had them all. And but VB wasn't working for me. VB was great. I got a lot of work done, but there was something else. I wanted to try the one final language that might be the language of my soul. You may have heard this joke before. Oh. Well, hang on, let me click on that. Hang on, it's booting up. The joke is booting up. 1 second. There we go. There you go. Takes a while for the VM on that joke to come up. So I was working in Java. I worked at Java at Nike for a long time, and it was really a really challenging experience. And then I met my wife, and I told her father that I was going to keep her in the manner that she was accustomed to being kept. And then I tried to write Java apps to support the family. This is a picture of my family. And I understand that immediately you see that there's a difference. Something stands out here, and it's pretty clear right off the bat how uncomfortable I would be, because everyone else was already coding in C#. And I just insisted on working on Java. I was convinced that write once, run anywhere was going to be amazing. So it turns out one does not simply write once, run anywhere. One instead writes once and looks like crap anywhere. Which is, like, it's not, well, crap is rude. I apologize. That's an unkind thing to say. It's not crap. It's aight, right? I mean, someone at Daylight Donuts, well, they've lost the L. No, it's not Daylight Donuts. It's Daylight Donuts. How are the donuts? They aight. It's like Java, right? They aight. Java, writing Java, this is Java in the 90s. I'm sure Java is lovely today, and I'm not in any way trying to disparage Java, but for me, writing Java was like watching a three-legged dog. I mean, you know he's going to get where he's going, but it's just really sad to watch. That was Java of the 90s. No disrespect to any of my Java brethren today. See, it's one of those, you just like, insult them. You're like, no, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I'm not saying you're fat. I'm just saying you could lose a little weight. I'm just saying. So I thought that maybe the language that I needed was C#. This was my language. I tried Lisp. Lisp wasn't working for me. Let me show you the end of one of my Lisp programs. This is just this. I just scrolled down to show you the last part. So that wasn't it. That wasn't where I needed to be. That wasn't designed to make me feel good about myself. I tried assembler. You know, I get it, but people were trying to tell me, you can write object-oriented assembler. No, you can't. I tried lol code. This was really close. This was really, really close to the language of my soul. Because I was like, I'm in your north wind. And like, I didn't show you a loop here, but it's like, I'm all up in your A, up in your var by 1. You know, that's just, it's intuitive, right? You know when you've met the language of your soul, when you can write a for loop the way you speak. I'm all up in your I, up in your var by 1. I think OMG found your products. You see, yeah, that's the database opening right there. And then I'm out of your north wind. There's how you exit. But C# kept calling me, and I realized that that's the language that I need to be writing, and that is the language. There's just things about C# that just make me smile. Just little things that you like are reminded about. You'll find yourself writing C# the way you used to write code, and then you'll learn that they'd already thought about that. And there was some cool thing, whether it be null coalescing, or you'll poke around in the corners of C# and you'll find checked and unchecked, and you'll go, oh, yeah, they thought about that too. That's awesome. And even when C# sucked, it was still awesome, like async. Like here's doing an HTTP GET using the asynchronous programming model. And I didn't even put it all in there because there's the whole, like now once you've got the response stream, you still got to go and get the read loop and spin around in there. And you know, it's stream reader time, so you know, strap on because you're ready to go. It's stream reader time. And there's also more code at the bottom that scrolled off because there was just like exception handling. So then you just do the getter done model, which is web client, which is awesome, but it's synchronous and it's blocking. And then there was these days, the event-based days, which were pretty cool, but they were a little weird because they were out of order. And you'd say web client, and you'd say, do the stuff that you're going to do later here in this event, and then you go and do the thing, and then later on it'll call back to that event. And that was okay. But the thing that's nice about this is that C# is evolving. Things are changing, things are getting better, and then now it's async, and it's just a joy. And now it's the closest thing to getter done as possible, but it's async, and now we have that with C#5, and we have that now in the Xamarin tools. It's how I want to write code. It makes me smile, it makes me happy. And then lambdas, every time that I write code like this, I have to kind of remember, no, use a lambda, use a lambda. People write this all the time. But they could be doing that. And we just have to remember that C# is evolving as we are evolving. And in this operator here, you guys know about that operator, right? The anders? We need to make that a thing. I've been trying to make this a thing for a couple years now. So when you write that code, you have to say album, open anders, and then you write and then close anders. You're not familiar with this? It's also the resig. When you're writing jQuery, you go open resig, and then close resig. If we can get that to catch on, that would make me very, very happy. We should make stickers, absolutely. Do you think anyone would deface their lovely Lenovo with that? Probably not. And I'm realizing as I spend all of this time in C# and I bounce around from language to language that I'm kind of a phony. Like I could show you all these languages that I tried, and I would say, well, I'm a polyglot programmer. Right? Now, I can't even say it. I'm not even an English speaker. That's how bad this is, people. A polyglot programmer is like when your friend's like, I totally speak Spanish, and all they do is order in Spanish at Chipotle. I'm not a Lisp programmer. I'm not a Ruby programmer. I just keep coming back to C#. That's the language that I keep coming back to. It makes me happy. I can, or get a taxi in any language that the word taxi means taxi. It doesn't mean I speak Russian though. I'm a fake. C# is my language. So ultimately, if I can do it in C#, I'm going to be really productive, and it makes me happy. And some people feel like that about F#. Some people feel like that about VB.NET. The point is, don't be ashamed. You should just love the language that makes you happy. This talk is about C# though. I'm like this Swiss Army knife, where I can do anything adequately to survival mode, right? If I can just get out of the forest, then alive, then it'll be all right. And I'm finding, though, that C# is getting more and more powerful, like this really disturbing-looking knife. We used to think 10 years ago when C# came out that it was high level. Think about that for a second. How we felt that we have reached some pinnacle. We are standing on top of all of these other languages. We have garbage collection, and we have sophisticated memory management, and now we have lambdas, and we have async. That's really high level. But then why do we use Xamarin tools and C#? Because it lets you get on the metal, right? I mean, I want to get right down there and access the native APIs. Like, that's what the power of C# is. Isn't that ironic, right? What language do you use when you want high-level asynchronous constructs and completely abstract away the complexities of state machines and threading? C#. What do you do when you want to go down level and talk to the internals of the lowest level API that you possibly can get to on an iPhone? Freaking C#, man. Either one. Yes, applaud C#. 64K, C#. 64 terabytes, C#. Tiny devices, C#. In the cloud, freaking C#. That's not an official Microsoft statement. So, freaking C#, because you know that it's going to be like in Mary Jo Foley's, Scott Hanselman, principal program manager for whatever I'm not the principal program manager of, says freaking C# on stage at Xamarin's Evolve. I'm just excited. It was the moment. There's a whole hour after this where I disclaim everything that I've said. I just want stick around for that hour. It's going to be awesome. So you can share code between mobile and the cloud. And now we've got NuGet. We've got this package manager. I've got a NuGet announcement a little bit later we'll talk about. We've got generics. We've got async. C# makes me, phony that I am, feel empowered. It makes me know that I have the skills, I have the tools, I have the code to do a lot of damage. I can go and build a stack like this from a slide that I stole from Stuart Hodges, where every box up there is written in C#. WP7, Windows 8, Droid iOS, the UI logic, presentation layers, data access, the cloud, the mobile services, everything I can do on a platform that I'm comfortable with and I'm familiar with. And that makes me really happy. Because ultimately, I'm just using my Swiss Army knife to fix stuff, to fix things in my life that don't work. My buddies at this company called Busy Light, they make this light, because I work from home, where when I change my link status, the light by my door there changes so that my kids know that I'm busy. This is true. Daddy's on the air. You know what I mean? I was going to get like an old style on the air light, but I got this Busy Light. It's all C#, and I'm thinking, wait a second. What can I do with Link to solve a problem? What can I do with Link that would be amazing? So I've got this blog. Let me switch over to that one moment. So here's my blog. And what I did was I took this guy here. I took this Logitech camera. It's like this creepy eyeball stock thing. And I got it, and it's the coolest eyeball stock webcam you can buy. And it has a pan, tilt, zoom. It has these buttons here, you see? And my fingers, which is not creepy at all. It's the promise of Surface. So it turns out that I don't know anything about anything required to solve this problem. I want to take this camera and install it remotely in Seattle and then control it from my house. So I start asking around, and they're like, well, that's no problem. You just write this driver in C. I was like, no. Well, I mean, that's how it's done. Well, I don't believe that. It can't be, because I would not be able to do it then. So what can I do? Well, I start poking around, and I find myself in a neighborhood that I should not be in. You know you're in a neighborhood when you should not be in, when they open the door, and the big iron door, and it's just like, what's the password? And they slam it, right? This is Windows 8. This is the deep, dark corners of Windows 8 before they got to that button and Windows 8ified it. this is like Windows 95 code inside of Windows 8. I don't know what this is, but I found this dialog box deep, deep, deep in the bowels of the system. But what it told me was that, hey, look, this camera is a direct show thing. So even though the UI is old, the code is new. There's all this great new code to support this pan, tilt, zoom idea. It's built in. Like, this is like new features at the core level. So I start poking around, and I find this dialog box, and I see pan, tilt, and roll. I'm like, hang on a second. I can call direct show with C#, because C# lets me do everything. So then I spend a week writing 30 lines of code. It's the right 30, though. And when you're doing alloc co task mem, you know you've arrived. Or you have no idea what you're doing. For me, it was both. And even better are the to-dos where I have no intention of coming back. You know what I mean? The to-do means nothing to me anymore, right? It's just a reminder of my personal failure. I might as well just say // not going to happen, : I want to point out this code works, but that thread sleep, I don't know. 19 doesn't work. 21, no. 20, awesome. And notice how, with all the good comments, you have to put in the reason why, even if it's not true. I don't know if it's a DC motor. I don't know if that matters at all. But it makes it sound like I'm an electrical engineer, which I'm not. So this is like the kids in the hall, like, I'm a very bad doctor. How far could I coast on charm? Pretty far, actually. This is just C# calling this COM API. Honestly, this is copy-pasted from a lot of MSDN documents, which is most production code is. Then I wrote this algorithmic tour de force. Now, I assure you, I did some micro benchmarks about the value of an if-else versus a switch statement, and I'll put my micro benchmark up on GitHub later to show you that I do micro benchmarks. But just to let you know, this code works and passes all of my extensive testing. Because I have unit tests for this. So this let me move the camera around from the console, C#. So then I'm like, boom, I'm going to make that a library. Cool, C#. Then I get Web API, and I make it so I can post JSON to it, and I can move it remotely. I'm just pure win right now, right? And I'm telling my boss that I'm working from home the whole time. I'm like at McDonald's. Like, they have free Wi-Fi. Horrible food, but they have free Wi-Fi. I just buy a McMuffin because I don't want them to kick me out for just hanging out at McDonald's. Which I don't know why, because there's other homeless people there coding C#, and they don't buy anything. And they're using the Xamarin Starter Edition, which is free, by the way. So I take the camera and I put it up in Seattle and I start posting JSON at it. And I'm like, this is great. I've solved the problem, right? Well, it turns out you have to VPN in every single time, which sucks. And I don't want to VPN in. So I'm like, how am I going to get around the Microsoft firewall in a way that is reasonable and legal and that they won't fire me for? And I probably shouldn't talk about it in a talk. But here's how I got around the firewall. So you can use a service bus relay, or I used a SignalR hub. So I've got me working remotely, and then I've got a bunch of buttons on a form, and then I've got this cloud, right? That's what hipsters call hosting, a hosting company. In this case, I'm using the Azure cloud. And then I got the camera up in Seattle, and I fire up a free Azure website. And here's the complete code of the relay. That's the whole thing. I want to point out the using statements, because sometimes with the Microsoft people, you can't trust them because they'll say, look, I did the whole thing in 3 lines of code. And they don't mention utils.cs, which has like 10,000 lines of hacks and hard-coded stuff. That's literally the entire thing. That's the hub. Move, zoom, and then join the relay. And I can support like effectively an infinite number of these cameras because I just use the computer name as the key. So if you figured out the name of my computer, you could do it too, which would probably be weird. So I meant to do, add a password. So this SignalR hub made it really, really easy. So then I went and I wrote a really cool little app here. Take a look at this. You see this guy? Isn't that weird? Let me zoom in. I wrote this little guy here. Because what I was going to do is I'm just going to hover here and just hold it there and pretend that it's integrated into Link. That's exactly why I did it, is to hover like that. And see how I'm actually clicking on the area here? That's because that's not really quite transparent. This is actually official color, not quite transparent. See? It's just a little tiny bit not transparent. Which means also transparent enough is what that is. So then I go and I write that all up, and I'm like, that's really awesome, that's amazing. I pulled that off, and I did it in C#, and I made it all work together, and it's amazing, and it looks like this. So let's try something. Well, that's weird. You never know what you're going to get with the Bing for your background images. All right.
No, messed with her.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, hang on a second. So see, I take this little thing here. Whoops.
Wait, you're not in your room at home? Oh, he's in the thing.
No, this is my room at home. I have a giant
Is
wall.
Stargate behind you?
It's space.
Oh.
And I also have a large stage and a clicker, just for home. It's for personal use. So now I take this WPF little widget here, and I just pretend it's integrated like that, see? And I even have code that watches where the link window is, so when I move the link window around, it moves the buttons so I can continue the illusion. So now, you guys were just happen to be hanging around up there? Is that what's going on?
We're literally designing features on the board here.
So there's me. There's me watching me. Screenshot!
Inception.
But that has nothing to do with Xamarin Tools. What does have to do with Xamarin Tools is that I sat down with Greg Shackles, and this is the pan-tilt zoom controller written using Xamarin Tools in iOS. So now I'm controlling the same camera with C# on my personal iPhone. So that's the SignalR team right there. Give them a round of applause for SignalR being awesome. I can't show you here. There you go.
Wait, what?
There's no way this is working out. Sorry. They're out there though, and there's like 600 of them.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, you guys are awesome. I'll talk to you later. I'm hanging up on you now.
See ya.
So those folks are pretty amazing people, and we've got that code is all actually up and on my GitHub, and Greg helped me put that into iOS. We also have an Android version, so I can pan, tilt, zoom, and control that now. And then yesterday, I talked to David Fowler, who you saw there on the camera, and he went and merged in Greg's support into the next branch of SignalR. So you're going to be able to do that stuff as well. So great job. Great job for SignalR, great job Greg, and great job for David Fowler for clicking OK. Seriously though, the stuff that SignalR is doing is amazing, and if you should get to know it. And the code for this, if you go up on my GitHub and take a look that Greg did, it's ridiculously easy, and it gets to the point of what was it that allowed us to do that. It was C# that made it exciting, because I don't know how to do any of this stuff, and it still works, which is crazy. I mean, if you're not on mobile, you're not living, right? We know that mobile is happening, and mobile is not going to stop. That was mobile in 1993. Remember this? Dude, it was me and drug dealers and surgeons that had a pager. I was living the dream. And this is the exact amount of equipment in 2013 that you require to do the same amount of work in a higher resolution. Isn't it great, the innovation that we've seen in the mobile space since the introduction of the iPhone? I mean, I think we can really feel good about that as a company. The new BlackBerry Z10, revolutionary in its industrial design. Flat, smooth, slate, all one piece. Where have we heard that before? Seriously, I love my phone. My mobile phone has completely changed the way that I poop. I don't know what we were doing in there before, but look, Reader's Digest, I guess. Now it's Reddit, which is, about as well written. There are a billion mobile subscriptions out there. There are a billion people out there that have mobile subscriptions. That's 1 for every 7 people on the planet. This is your potential audience. For most people in developing countries, a mobile device is their computer. These are people who do not have computers. Well, they do have a computer. They have a more powerful computer than I had growing up. They have a quad processor pocket supercomputer that they use to argue with anonymous strangers on the internet. And look at cat pictures. And if you or your boss thinks that this is not happening, there's a number of things that you can tell them to indicate that they're simply wrong. It is happening, right? Here's a great quote from one of our fine philosophers of our time. The avalanche has already begun. It's too late for the pebbles to vote. Your boss, the one who's saying that it's not happening, they're denying, they're like a mobile denier. Do those people exist? Mobile's not happening. Nobody has a mobile phone. Deniers. Who said that? What famous philosopher said that? You call yourself nerds? It's Kosh from Babylon 5. What is wrong with you people? Was that Gandhi? Picard? Was it Picard? Sci-fi. Come on, you guys. I'm disappointed. 600 nerds and you can't pull out Kosh. All right, I'll just go for the cheesy Star Wars reference, and then you can all cheer at that. How about, okay? That'll be better. God forbid I should pull out like a Doctor Who, like the original Doctor Who. I would never do that, because Mono and Xamarin have this amazing community, and it comes out of the .NET community and takes it even farther. It's amazing. And if you look at things like MVVM Cross that you're going to hear about at the conference today, it is the MVVM framework that you're looking for. Now, unfortunately, it's not in Connect Star Wars, because that game is garbage. But it is in the Connect Star Wars tablet-based social thing. But the framework for MVVM Cross is lovely, even if this game did not reach its level of awesomeness. There are so many amazing games and programs that are being written with tools like MonoGame and MVVM Cross. The Stickman, where are my Stickman people? Where I love the draw Stickman people. Hey, Stickman, hello. My kids still play it all the time. Problem is, their men don't look anything like Stickman. They just like draw a square, and the square just moves like a Stickman. They love the game, though. Infinite Flight and ARMED and RDO and iCircuit and on and on and on. There's so much great stuff out there. And freaking Bastion, where's Bastion guy? Love you, man. Where are you? You guys played Bastion? Oh my goodness, download it now. Amazing, amazing game. Fantastic stuff. There's all these great libraries, and they're just getting more and more and more. There's support for all sorts of new things, many of them portable. In fact, we just checked in a little while back, better portable library support for Azure Mobile Services that will hopefully find its way into the component in the Xamarin store and make their code even simpler. And you're going to see this throughout the things that we're producing. We, Microsoft, are producing more and more stuff that's portable from out of the Visual Studio team. You're going to see cool stuff out of the Azure team like this. And look at all that white space. This is the portable class library dialog box. I'm not allowed to say anything because I'm nobody. I'm just a guy. I'm just saying that there's white space there. I'm just saying that the Xbox 360 is just a little bit close from a vertical spacing perspective. And they need to either shorten that dialog box or lengthen that dialog box. You know what I'm saying? So I would love, as a personal individual, not related to any company at all, to see more things appear into that dialog box. NuGet 2.5 beta is out. Did you guys, anyone pay attention to any of the check-ins to that? No? Were you busy at a conference or something? Let's zoom in and find out what's going on there. Did you guys see this? So we've checked in Mono Android, Mono Touch, Mono Mac into NuGet. It builds now. We fixed the case sensitivity issues. Unit tests succeed on Mono now. So if you are making portable libraries and you're doing stuff, now you're going to get support from NuGet to do that kind of thing. So that's happening also. That was checked in and released yesterday. I think it's great. I think it's great. I hope that you think it's great too. Because what you want to do in the perfect world is you want to take your code on the left and you want to make it look like this, because it's about reuse. And reuse in any form, right? Reuse in any form is a good thing. And I'm a big fan of portable libraries, and I want the lowest common denominator to get better, right? And I want new functionality to ship as a cross-platform. Things like the async, being able to bring async out the way that we did, to bring HTTP client out and make that happen. Make the flow of TPL better, make collections better. All these things I want to happen. Portable libraries are a really great thing, and if we can make that happen, I think it would be great. Because code sharing is where it's at. People are putting together some amazing apps, and I think those apps will be just even better if they can follow the lead of folks like Draw Stickman and share code, whether that code is being shared in binaries or whether that code is being shared as just code and text files. And I think more and more people need to read about MVVM and make that happen, this idea that you could have models, view models, and then views, and then really have the platform-specific stuff pushed off as far away as you can, and then have the portable-ish stuff as portable as you can get. Don't feel bad about your if-defs. Every if-def you write, even though it might make things complicated, it's code that you didn't have to duplicate somewhere else. And then just try to keep things as dry as possible. Dry, dry, dry. Don't repeat yourself. Keep it dry. Dry, dry. Don't repeat yourself. Don't repeat yourself. Dry. Dry, dry, dry. That's how it feels like sometimes when you're writing cross-platform apps, though, doesn't it? I'm trying to keep it dry by repeating myself as many places as possible. A really good cross-platform application is going to have their startup code in the separate area that's specific to that platform, their views that are specific to that platform, and then they're going to all refer to some portable class library. But sometimes you'll find yourself in situations where you get right up to the point where you're portable and then you have to break a rule. And that's where you start implementing interfaces and making things a little bit cleaner, and then you have platform functionality abstractions, whether those be talking to isolated storage or settings or whatever. But you can still make it happen. And there's inversion of control things and MVVM cross that are there to help you and make that happen. So I hope that you are not happy with anything less than like 95% code reuse. And then when you have all those applications written and you're sharing all that code and you've written it all in C#, I hope that you go to the cloud then and do all that in C# as well, because that's the language that you know how to use. And you're going to get support from Azure on all of those platforms, whatever makes you happy. I like the idea of customer delight. They're delighting customers, Xamarin is, at every turn. And we are doing the same thing. We're trying to, on Azure, to make you as happy as possible. If you've played with the Azure SDKs, if you've done the command line stuff, if you've messed with Azure inside of Linux or inside of Mac or on Visual Studio, you're having a great developer experience at every step. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that the Lions, this is a rugby thing, a rugby team, help me out, UK people, where's my friend Stuart? I don't care about any of these people, nor do I care about this sport, but I'm trying to be excited because this man will hurt me if I do not. This guy is, he was one of the main coders on this application. So this is the Lions app, and this thing came out yesterday on iPad, iPhone, Android tablet, WPs 8 and 7, all launched in one day, all written in C#. And what I hear from people who worked on the team is that none of these people had ever written a mobile app before. Go and search for Lions in the App Store. It's in the US App Store too, and it's gorgeous. It's got parallax scrolling and beautiful graphics. There's some really, really cool stuff going on there. It's not just a Hello World app. It's really quite extraordinary. So if you're interested in cross-platform development, check this application out and look at the experience and the way they did the UI design across platforms. It's really quite lovely. I love that these guys had a problem, and then they solved that problem, because that's what we try to do. This is a problem that Daniel Playstad had. Have you guys seen these things before? They're like made of like wood or plastic, and they're like a knot that you have to take apart. And there's two kinds of people in the world, right? There's the person that would work on that problem for 100 hours until they get that thing apart. And then there's the person that would write some code to solve that for you and then push a button and then have it happen, right? It's like I respect people who can solve a Rubik's Cube in just a few minutes, but I also respect the person who wrote the Rubik's Cube solver out of Lego and then had it do the work for them. I mean, that's badass. That's awesome. So what we've done here is we've got that application broken up over here. We've got a couple of things. So here is the portable library that represents that cube. Okay, we've got that Gordian cube, and here's a text file. This is our database showing where the things live in space. That's just a data file that gets loaded up. Okay, that's the starting state of this cube. And then the solver the states of the pieces and the parser for that stuff, all portable. All portable. And the portable subset, as we're hearing today, as we're hearing around, we go to the different sessions, is this projection of this least common denominator that we want to be as great as possible. Like the more you can do inside of portable, the better. This case here, we're using the standard portable subset. We've got all of that code, and then that is referred to by this Windows version of the same thing. But you notice this tiny Conway's Game of Life that's being played here, this, whatever that is? That, I think, indicates that that is a link. So this game1, the well-named game1.cs, is in fact also being code shared. Because as you're writing the code and you're saying, wow, you know, the startup code for Windows and the startup code for Windows Phone is really, really close to each other. But they're different enough to be irritating. That's where things get a little bit messy. But what we've done here is we've basically if-defed our way to glory. So there's a bunch of ifs, not a lot, 4 or 5. There's some threading where if it's using the standard FX core, then it does this, otherwise it uses that. Debug versus console. Here's a turning on touch on Windows Phone. There's a little scary. Anytime this gets closed up, you know something bad is happening inside. You know, that's just touch support for Windows that hasn't been turned on yet in the other frameworks. But the point is that we've got several hundred lines of code here, and it's all being shared. It's all using MonoGame. If I go and run that now, so there's that knot, and I can have it walk me through the steps to undo it. Okay? I'm going to pick that up and put it over here. And then I'll switch over to the same exact thing, and this is the Android one. So now I'm still in Visual Studio, and this is the part that I'm most excited about. I mean, it's just amazing. I can't swear, but I want to swear. It's amazing. I'm in Visual Studio doing Android stuff. And Visual Studio isn't the slowest thing here. In all seriousness, I've been whipping around in Visual Studio. You have seen me. I haven't had any problems. So we're going to take a 2-hour break, and I'm going to fire up the Android emulator. No, I'm just kidding. This machine's really fast. This is using quantum computing techniques to bring this Android emulator up. Now, I'm using the x86 stuff, and it's really quite lovely. This is an X1 Carbon Touch. I recommend this laptop unreservedly. It's quite lovely. And notice that I've got touch, so I'm whipping around in the Android emulator. So if you're not doing this too, you're very sad. It's quite magical. So here is, here's the same thing. And I'm using touch to move it around. So now I've got it over here, and I've got it over there. Same code, a little bit of dances around to make the portable stuff work, but the amount of effort required getting the build system to work is minimal compared to the payoff at the end. So I have to thank Dominique, who helped me with the Android stuff, and Daniel Plaisted, who wrote the original puzzle solver, because, I mean, that's just, if just flipping around something in 3D that doesn't make any sense to you is not proof enough why you should use this product, then I don't know what is. Seriously, though, I think it's amazing, and it makes me want to go and write applications using this framework as well. Oh, there we go. So my message to you guys, and the message that I finally come to terms with myself, is this idea that I am powerful. I'm not an expert in any one particular framework, but I do know .NET. I feel good about IL, and I love C#, and one day I will be smart enough to use F#. And that's really awesome. C# is like Visa. It's everywhere that I want to be. Anytime I come upon a new place or a new environment, C# is there waiting, ready to go. C# is here, 64K, chilling. And it's here on the open cloud doing open things with open source SDKs. And if you have felt in the past like companies or frameworks have spoken to you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to feel like that. Because we are just not that organized. Now, do be aware that there are 2 operating systems shipping on every phone today. There are native, and there's JS. So you're going to want to target the one that meets your needs. Doing everything in HTML is not the answer, and doing everything in native is not the answer. HTML is a really great portability layer, and I'm a really hardcore web person. So for me, I do a lot of work in HTML. But by its nature, by its very definition, and by its very position within the native operating system, HTML does and has to lag behind what's going on in native. So when you need native functionality, you need a framework that's going to let you get right there, and you're going to need developer tools that are going to let you exploit that. There's a really great website here, Property Cross, that is trying to test all of these different frameworks like JQ Touch and jQuery Mobile and all these web frameworks, as well as Xamarin and other frameworks, and comparing them to native and seeing what could someone do to write an application, a non-trivial application, and have it work anywhere. So I encourage you to check out projects like that and explore what you need and what's right for you. But remember this, and remember the exciting thing about being here at Evolve, and the exciting thing about the relationship between Visual Studio and Xamarin, and the relationship between open source and what we're all trying to accomplish, is that we now are in control of our future. Things like MonoGame prove that. The extensibility models that enable Xamarin to live inside of Visual Studio, and the friendly and open protocols that allow things like Azure Mobile Services to work great and seamlessly with Xamarin products tell us that we, the community, you guys, us, are in control of our future. We all love .NET. Let's go kick some butt. And I encourage everyone to do open source, work with the community. And remember this, my friends, C# is the only language that gets you into every app store on the planet. So feel really, really good about that. So thank you guys very much. Big thanks to Xamarin. Visual Studio is excited about Xamarin. Azure is excited about Xamarin. If you want to write applications that are going to run everywhere, C# is the way to do it. Take my money, please. Thank you very much.